We're all a work in progress, and we all know that feeling in the back of our head when we're not doing the best that we could be, when we're slacking off, when we're lacking discipline, and in moderation, ignoring this feeling, it's not a big deal. But when ignoring this feeling becomes ingrained in your routine, your creativity will suffer. Trust me, this has happened to me plenty of times. YouTube, what is good? So fundamentally, a habit turns into a routine, and habits start by just making a decision one day that carries over to the next day, and slowly over time just becomes ingrained in the process of you doing everything. And today we're going over some habits, some routines, whatever you want to call them, that have dramatically impacted my creativity in a negative way. The title is going to be clickbaity. It's probably going to say like destroyed my creativity, or who knows, something nuts, because this is YouTube after all. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Evan Ranth. I'm a photographer who's been building my brand on social media for the last 7 years now, since 2015. And along the way, I've worked with a lot of other brands to build their social media. And this channel is for any creative people out there who want to make money with their camera, explore creative ideas, and live a better life. So if that sounds like you, hit the subscribe button and hit the thumbs up button on today's video if you enjoy it. Today's video is also sponsored by Cuts. I'm wearing one of their shirts right now. We will talk about them a little bit later on. So first and foremost, it's important to identify that creativity is not a set in stone thing. It's not something that you can necessarily define. It's very subjective. But in my experience, your creativity is typically impacted by the same things that impact your mental health and the way you just feel in general. If you feel good, if you're in a good headspace, you tend to be more creative. And sometimes you hear this expression or this phrase thrown around that creative professionals don't wait to get inspired. They just show up every day and do the work. I agree with that statement a little bit, but trust me, life is a lot easier as a creative person if you are constantly inspired, and there's things that you can do in your life that help that creativity and help that inspiration show up more often. And in my case, and in the subject of today's video, these are all things that I was doing that were taking away from that. They were taking away from my mental well-being, taking away from the way that I felt, and in turn taking away from this creativity and inspiration that I was so desperately trying to tap into every single day for work. If you want a really cool metaphor on how to think about this, think of yourself as an antenna. You know how your car has that antenna near the hood that nobody uses anymore because no one listens to the radio? That antenna is there so that the radio signal from radio stations can get into your car and play through your radio. Think of yourself just like that antenna on the front of the car, except instead of getting a radio signal to listen to music, you are getting your creative ideas channeled into you, and you want to do everything you can throughout your day to make sure that signal is as clear as possible and you can get these ideas out. So the first thing I want to talk about is the habit of overscheduling. We live in this culture today that is so hustle driven. You know, there's like YouTube videos about the toxic hustle culture and all that stuff, but people have this idea, especially in America, that they have to be doing something all the time. You constantly have to be progressing. You constantly have to be working. If you have downtime, it means you're not doing something that you could be doing to be productive. And while this mindset, I think, can be beneficial a little bit, it can be taken way over the top to the point where you are getting no new stimulation. And creativity comes from new experiences and new stimulation and new things happening to you. It's the main reason why so many photographers and YouTubers and things like that love to travel, because when you go out of town and you're introduced to all this new stimulation, it's very easy to create. The ideas just start flowing. Whereas when you're in your day-to-day routine, you have to almost force yourself to find these new stimulating moments. And if you're overscheduling yourself, you're booking yourself and spreading yourself way too thin, you are never going to have time for that. And it's one of the fastest ways that you can burn out. Now, the second thing we got to talk about is actually a byproduct of overscheduling. When you don't give yourself enough time, little things in your life start slipping through the cracks. One of the biggest ones being my diet. So the second thing is lazy eating, getting lazy about my nutrition. I've seen articles and studies, while I'm not an expert, I don't know how true they are, but they talk about how the bacteria in your gut and how healthy it is can actually have an impact on how your mood is and how you feel during the day. And like I mentioned in the introduction, how you feel and how your mental health is doing is a big part of how creative you feel. Are you able to think in a positive direction? Are you feeling confident in your ideas? And one thing that can easily derail that is getting lazy with how you're eating. Me personally, I find myself when I get too busy going to the pantry and just grabbing like a handful of pretzels or like Cheez-Its or something that I shouldn't have even bought in the first place and eating that as a snack rather than making something like a bowl of yogurt that realistically takes 45 seconds more to make. I'm not going to speak on that one too much because it should be obvious how it benefits you and can benefit your creativity. And that leads me to the third bad habit I want to talk about, which is putting your job, whatever it is that you're doing, ahead of self-care. Taking care of yourself can be anything. It can be getting frequent haircuts so that you look good. For me, if I don't get a haircut every 2 weeks, the sides of my hair start getting too long and I look like a Q-tip. And when I look at myself in the mirror, I start thinking, yo, something looks off here. You don't look good. So I take that extra hour every 2 weeks and I go get my hair cut. I get my beard trimmed, and it's something that makes me feel good. And when I feel good, like I mentioned at the intro, I find myself being more creative and coming up with more ideas, and also being more confident in my ideas, which is huge. Being confident in your ideas is almost as important as the idea itself. Granted, there's a lot of people out there who have terrible ideas and are overly confident, but I hope you understand what I mean. So many artists struggle with confidence, and one of the easiest ways to feel confident in yourself and feel confident in what you're creating is taking that extra time out of your schedule to just treat yourself properly. Take a shower in the morning instead of later in the afternoon, so that way when you're working on the computer and you're editing, you're not feeling like this slob who literally just rolled out of bed and started working. This is something that has plagued me over the years because I've always worked from home. I find myself some mornings just getting up and immediately starting to work. But the days that I get up, maybe work a little bit, eat a breakfast, shower, and put on a nice outfit, I feel much better working throughout the day, and I feel like I get a lot more done. And that leads me to the sponsor on today's video, Cuts. Up until this month, my favorite product from Cuts was their t-shirt. But if you follow the channel on my social media, you've noticed me wearing this gray hoodie. This is Cuts vintage hoodie, and it's become my new favorite style in my wardrobe. Vintage wash, comfortable, and a modern fit. This has been my go-to for work and photo days, and their sweatpants to match if that's something that you're into. Cuts is dedicated to creating products that provide maximum value through premium materials and quality fits to give you confidence regardless of the situation. From social to professional, Cuts is the go-to brand for this channel, and today they're hooking everybody up with 15% off. Just go to the link in the description on today's video. Definitely check out the vintage collection. These are going to be perfect for those spring days where maybe you're looking for something long sleeve to wear with shorts, but don't take my word for it. Go to the link in the description on today's video and save yourself 15% off from Cuts. Thank you to Cuts for sponsoring today's video. So the fourth thing we got to talk about today is possibly the most important on this list, and it's one that a lot of people are going to relate to, and it is consuming more than you are contributing to social media. And social media is one of these things that I think is a net positive for most people. For creators like me, it's a way to get paid. You can create media and create content for brands, for individuals, and make a living for yourself. I think social media is a great place if you can keep it under control within the confines of how you're using it personally. And what I mean by this is a lot of artists and a lot of creative people, they get on social media as a way to try to find inspiration when they have no ideas. Maybe between photo edits, maybe between clients, they just sit on social media and start scrolling. Now, this is a very human thing. Social media is designed to keep you scrolling, keep your interest, try to have you stay on the app as long as possible. But in reality, looking at other people's ideas isn't going to lead you to an original idea of your own. Things like going on walks, going on runs, exercising, taking some time to journal or just sit quietly, meditate. These are the types of things that are actually going to clear up that antenna and allow your creative ideas to come to you, because when you are in alignment with yourself, you have the best chance of actually creating an idea that is unique to you. And when you're constantly scrolling through social media looking for inspiration there, you are just wasting time. You're trying to grab low-hanging fruit of how to create something, but at the end of the day, you're not creating something that is original to you. You're not creating your own idea, and you're really just spinning your wheels, because I think most of us know that when we get an idea from social media or trying to replicate someone else, most of the time we finish that project or finish that thing and we don't have the same feeling of satisfaction that we do when we create something that is completely original to us and true to what we actually want to be doing. The fifth thing I want to talk about is sleep. Sleep is so obvious, but I found myself early on in my creative journey, especially when I was starting YouTube, staying up until 2, 3 in the morning editing videos because that's what I saw all these other people doing. Casey Neistat was sleeping 4 hours a night, and Gary Vee is talking about this, that, or the other. And I'm not going to sit here and discredit it completely. I mean, you have to work hard to get what you want in life, especially in a field like creator entrepreneurship or social media. You have to do what you have to do to stand out. But there is a line. At some point, not sleeping enough is going to impact you so much that you are not going to be able to come up with your best ideas. We all know how sleep impacts
impacts our mood. We know how sleep impacts our ability to come up with ideas, our ability to think through problems. And at the end of the day, creativity is just a giant game of problem solving. You're trying to take an idea in your head and bring it to life. So by not sleeping, you are holding yourself back in two ways. You're not going to be as imaginative, and you're not going to be able to come up with these ideas. And then you're going to struggle with executing the ideas as well. So sleep should be so obvious. Don't want to talk about that one too much. So next up is one that's very personal to me, and I think it impacts a lot of creative people out there and just people in general without them even knowing it. And it's frequently drinking alcohol. Now, I say frequently because I'm not talking about going out and getting crazy on the weekends. I'm not talking about partying and, getting wasted, all that stuff. I'm talking about those 2 glasses of wine you have at the end of the night, or that cup of whiskey that you have while you're finishing your edits at 9 p.m. Stuff that doesn't seem like it's a very big deal slowly adds up over time because of what I talked about earlier, habits turning into routine. And in 2020, being stuck at home and editing so much and just working so hard on this YouTube channel, I found myself falling into a routine of drinking small amounts of alcohol a couple days a week. It might have been like 3 or 4 nights out of the week, I would have a glass of wine, before bed while I was trying to unwind. And what I realized is, one, this is a mental liability because I'm now relying on this cup of alcohol as a way to unwind and decompress. And that's a huge problem because you're relying on something outside of yourself to get you through the day. But outside of that, the real reason I'm bringing this up is alcohol, even in small amounts like that, can dramatically impact your mood and can impact your sleep. And both of these things, being part of the way you feel, can dramatically impact your creativity. I'm not an expert on this by any means. I don't know all the ins and outs of how it affects your body. I'm just saying that from personal experience, society deems it okay and appropriate to, drink in moderation multiple times throughout the week. I've just found that it's very easy for that to snowball into something that's actually having a real detrimental impact on how you feel, and in turn, if you're an artist, what you're creating. All right, so that brings us to the last thing I want to talk about today. I'm going to keep it brief. I think we're at number 7 on the list, and that is overanalyzing. We have heard the expression paralysis by analysis. I can't tell you how many times I've been getting ready to film a photography video for this YouTube channel and spent an hour, 2 hours thinking to myself, well, if I go there, I'm not going to be able to make these photos. If I go here, I'm not going to be able to make these photos. And I just get in my head and start trying to control everything rather than just letting the process play out the way that it's supposed to play out. I'm overanalyzing everything, and essentially overanalyzing is a result of fear. You're fearing not getting the outcome that you want. So in the case of me in these YouTube videos, the reason I'm overanalyzing everything and trying to control everything is because I'm scared that I'm not going to get the photos that I need for the video, and I'm going to end up wasting my time. But the reality of creating is that not all ideas are going to work out. And rather than taking an hour, 2 hours overanalyzing what it is you're going to do, just go out there and start trying and give yourself that 2 hours to get the outcome that you're going for and bring that idea to life. The faster you can stop analyzing and stop trying to control creativity, the faster you're going to start on the ideas and let the process begin. And once again, clear up that channel that allows the ideas to flow into you. So that's everything I want to talk about today. If you enjoyed this video, thumbs up, subscribe. Feel free to drop some comments if there's anything on this list that you think I left off.